How many of you, I'm going to ask a whole bunch of questions this morning, so I'm just warming you up for responses and hand raising and everything, how many of you woke up this morning and really did not feel like coming to church? Let me see your hands. Come on, be honest, be real. Okay, and how many of you now are glad that you got up and you came? All right, about 3/4 of you. That's good. We're working on it. All right. Okay, so here's what I want to do this morning with you. I want this to be like a conversation that we have. Let's talk, right? How many of you, I'm wondering, have been asked this question? Here it is on the screen. How many of you have been asked this question? You've been approached by someone in some setting, and they said to you, would you like to make a donation? Maybe you're at the office or where you work, and there's an employee there, a coworker that has some needs, so somebody's making a collection. Hey, would you like to donate? Or maybe the boosters hit you up, or maybe you come to church and the plate goes by, right? I mean, if you've been at a church service, you're asked, would you like to make a donation? Or maybe you're approached by a homeless person. You venture into Cleveland. I know that's scary for people who live in Ashland, but the big cities are pretty exciting places and need opportunities. So I'm in Cleveland. Whoa, or somebody comes up, hey, spare change. Do you have any spare change? Or they're asking. You're approached with a donation. Or you pull up at an intersection and a guy's standing there, 10 feet from your window, and he's got a sign, and he's wanting, so home. Or you go through the drive-through window, right? You give your order, you're all hungry, and then they say this, would you like to donate $1 to, right? And you think, really, all I want is my 2 tacos. But would you like to make a donation to? All right, so I set all that up to say, I want to ask you correct. Raise your hand. Have you ever been asked this question? Would you like to make a donation? Let me see your hand. Hold it up. Oh, my word, everybody. All right, put them down. Next question. Have you ever been asked this question? Would you like to donate $1? And you had $1, or you had spare change, or you had something they were asking for. All right, would you like to make a donation? You could, but you said no. All right, so I'd like to raise of hands. You were asked, would you like to make a donation? And you said no. Let me see your hands. Everybody's hand goes up. Okay, good. Now, if your hand's not up, that means that anytime anybody has ever asked you for something, you've always gave them something. Now, if you're that person, would you raise your hand? Because there's a lot of us that'd like to talk to you right after the service, right? All right, so we're all in this together. We've all had people say, would you like to make a donation? And we've all said no, all right? Now, third question. After saying no, did you ever feel bad? How many of you, after being asked and you said no, and you walk away, you go, it's just kind of irritating, or you feel bad, and you go, what's the deal? I mean, do you want to make a $1 donation to? And I say, no. And I think, come on, Alan, it's $1. What in the world is your problem? All right, so how many of you have felt bad? Okay, raise your hand. Okay. All right, man, we're all in this together, aren't we? We've been asked for a donation. We could have done it. We said no, and we felt bad. All right, now, next question is this. How many of you would say, you know what, I'd really like some help with this? Is there a way that I can navigate this better? Because I get asked all the time, would you like to make a donation? And how many of you would like some help navigating, handling that issue and that question? Let me see your hands. Oh, there's fewer hands going up. Some of you say you have trouble with it, you don't like. All right. How many of you would say, all right, I would like some help, but I don't want to take a 15-hour class, and I don't want to sit through a 17-week course. I mean, can I get some help in like 30 minutes? How many of you would raise your hand and say, yeah, I'd be interested? Well, today's your lucky day. Today is your lucky day, because I want you to turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 16. Paul in 4 verses, that's it, in 4 short verses, is all over the issues that we have just talked about that we face on a regular basis when it comes to this whole thing of would you like to make a donation? So turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 16. It's on page 962 if you want to use the Bible in front of you. And really, this is going to be so helpful. It has been so helpful to me. It has been so helpful. And I think it will be for you as well. All right, here we go. 4 verses. Are you there? If you're there, say yep. Okay. Now, Paul writes to this church in Corinth, concerning the collection for the saints, as I directed the churches of Galatia, that's a whole region in Asia Minor, all kinds of churches there. As I directed all of those churches, so you also are to do. On the first day of every week, each of you should put something aside and store it up as he may prosper, so that there will be no collection when I come. And when I arrive, in other words, Paul says, I don't want to show up and say, okay, I'm going to take a collection. Would you like to donate? And you're going, what? This is all ahead of time, right? So show up when I come. There'll be no collection when I come. Verse 3, and when I arrive, when I show up in Corinth then, I will send those whom you accredit by letter to carry your gift to Jerusalem. If it seems advisable that I should go also, they will accompany me. Now, in these 4 short verses, there are 4 words that I want to pull out of this, 4 words that I really believe can be such a help. They can send you on the path to joyful generosity. You got to hear my heart on this message. My heart and prayer for you is this. I want you to enjoy your money more. I think there are so many people, when it comes to donating, they really, really do not. They are missing out on so much joy. I mean, this should be enjoyable, right? I mean, how many of you enjoy Christmas gift buying? Yeah. Why don't we have that same kind of joy when it comes to donating or giving the rest of the year? This passage can help us. It really can. And this is my prayer for you, and this is my heart. The 4 words are going to be opportunity, intentionality, capability, and accountability. Would you like to enjoy your money more? This passage can help you. Number 1 is opportunity. Look at opportunity. You have to ask yourself the question, first of all, what are you giving to? Lots of people will come and ask you to donate. Ask the question. They're going to give you the opportunity to give. Ask yourself the question, what are you giving to? Look at verse 1. Now concerning the collection, what collection? So Paul's going to take a collection. What's it for, right? Good question. Paul says, I'm going to take a collection. I want you guys to take a collection. Question, what's it for? It's for the saints. Well, who are the saints? Is this a football team in New Orleans? What are the saints? Who are the saints? For what? That's a good question. And what's the need? Okay, if we're taking a collection for the saints, what is the need? Well, the saints here are the believers in Jerusalem. Corinth is a long way from Jerusalem. These are the believers in Jerusalem. These are Jewish believers in Jerusalem. Now understand, unlike today, Jerusalem in Bible times, New Testament times, was a very poor city. Very poor city, right? They're still feeling the effects of a previous famine. And then you go to Corinth. Corinth is this thriving port city, businesses in and out. It is a happening place, Corinth is more like New York City, and Jerusalem is more like, Cleveland. You pick another city that you think, man, that's really devastated. All right, so you get the feel. There's lots. Detroit, there you go. That's probably a good analogy. I just thought of that. It's comparing New York City to Detroit. So Jerusalem, you got these believers, And so the saints are the Jewish believers in Jerusalem. They're facing major financial challenge just because the economy is at the pot anyway. On top of that, these Jewish new Christians are being persecuted for their faith. So they're losing their jobs, they're losing stuff, and so they're really going through a difficult time. They're pooling their resources. Read Acts chapter 2, 3, 4. They're pooling their resources, but their resources are limited. So Paul says, here's an opportunity for you guys. Here's an opportunity for you people in Corinth who are Gentiles. This is an interesting opportunity, right? Jews didn't think a whole lot about the Gentiles, but now they're all coming to Christ, and Gentiles are coming to Christ. And Paul says, man alive, if you Gentiles would give to these poor Jews, this could be a really powerful thing on multiple levels. Paul would later write to believers in Rome. A period of time went by, the collection was taken, sent down to Jerusalem. So Paul's going to write later to believers in Rome and say this in Romans 15. For Macedonia and Achaia, those are two regions. Corinth would be in the region of Achaia. Paul writes this, for Macedonia and Achaia have been pleased to make some contribution for the poor among the saints of Jerusalem. So Paul was going to write, and the Corinthians, by the way, are going to step up, and it's a good thing. The Corinthians are going to do well. The Corinthians normally don't do well, do they? But they're going to do well here. And Paul's writing to people in Rome later on and says, man, these people in this church were pleased. They seized the opportunity. They were excited about the opportunity to give to the poor in Jerusalem. So, opportunity. What are you giving for? You got to evaluate the need. It's not crazy to evaluate the need. Listen. When someone comes to you and say, would you like to make a contribution? There's usually two things going on in your head, all right? One is, how much do I need to give you to get you off my back? I'm just being honest, right? Would you like to make a contribution? You think, oh man, what do you want? $1? Okay, $1. I'm done with it, right? That's not where, if you want to enjoy this, that's not where you go. Where you go is you ask the next question. What is it? The fast food people, it's interesting. Would you like to make a $1 donation to da-da-da-da? I go, I might. Tell me about this place. And they go, huh? Right? Well, what is it? Oh, I don't know. I go, okay, well, if you don't know, I don't know. I'm not going to give to something I don't know, right? But if they say, well, it's this, and it's this, oh, that's cool, all right? So ask the question. Think about it, right? Is this an opportunity? You're going, hey, is this an opportunity or not? Right? Maybe I'll give, maybe I won't. Because listen, there's all kinds of scams out there. There's all kinds of scams. There's all kinds of emails. Don't donate to everybody. Why do you do that? Well, the reason we do it is we just want them all off our back so we don't feel guilty. No. If you want to enjoy this, you got to first evaluate the needs and look for opportunities. This is an opportunity. Ask yourself this question. Hey, is this an opportunity God's given me the chance to jump in on? All right? Change your whole view of donating. Second question is this. Intentionality. Second word is intentionality. What is your giving plan? So, verse 1 and 2. Verse 1 and 2. Now, the collection for the saints. Concerning that, here's what I'm directing you. These are Paul's instructions. Paul is saying, here's how you handle collections. Here's how you handle donating. Here's how you handle giving, he says. Here it is, verse 2. These are the instructions he's given everybody. On the first day of every week, each of you is to put something aside and store it up, as he may prosper, so that there will be no collecting when I come. This is the whole issue of intentionality. Now listen, this is real important. Please hear me. This could be the biggest reason that you experience so much guilt and frustration and angst, and there's no joy in this whole topic for you. One of the biggest reasons is this. You've never thought through, have any kind of plan for what you're going to do with this area of your life. And so here's how it plays out. See if I'm not right. You think about this with me. If you choose to take a more passive approach, well, I'll just go along in life. And you're really passive about this whole thing of donating and giving and everything. If you take a passive approach to it, and if you take a protective approach to it with your money, which generally most people are, they're passive and protective. This is my money, I worked hard. Then guess what happens? If your mindset is passive, oh man, I just don't want to, and protective, then what happens is when opportunities come up in your approach and someone says, would you like to donate, to give, you feel like they're jumping you. You feel like they're attacking you. You feel like, oh, where'd this come from? Right? Because you're passive about it. You're not looking for opportunities. If the truth were known and you're honest, you're trying to avoid them. You have a passive approach to your whole giving in life. And so you're honestly hoping that nobody confronts you. And then when they do, you always feel like they asked you at the wrong time and they're coming at you and they're attacking you, right? If you're somebody who's saying this kind of thing, everybody's always asking me for money. If that's what you feel and that's what you're facing, then here's my help to you. You think about this. My guess is because you have a passive and protective approach to all this. What you need to do is to be proactive with it. You need to be proactive with your possessions and proactive with this whole area in your life. That way, when someone asks you to make a donation, then you're going, I might, what's the opportunity? And you already have a plan for the kind of things that you like to get involved in. See, this changes the whole gamut, doesn't it? Changes the whole thing. See, when someone asks you for a donation and you're passive and you have no plan, what you do, they come up to you and they say, do you have any spare change? And you go, nope. Whoops, that was a mint. Would you like a mint? Shucks, that's all I got. Shucks, I forgot my wallet. Shucks. And then you walk away, right? That's what we do. We're passive and protective. And so people come up to us, and then you feel that. And then it's like, oh, my word, I should do something. Or if you don't have a plan and you're passive, guess what happens? Somebody comes up to donate, and you go, you know what? I can't afford to give anything right now. That's what you say. You say, I can't afford to give anything right now. What happened? Well, you just showed up, and you want me to donate. And shucks, you caught me. That's all a reflection of a person who is not intentional. They take a passive, protective approach with their money versus a proactive approach with their possessions. They go, you know what? Shucks, I'm at the end of the month, and there's no money left over. Paul's instructions, watch, verse 2. On the first day of every week, each of you should put something aside and store it up. That sounds very intentional to me. So a father gives his little boy 2 nickels and says, okay, now, Johnny, all the little boys in the story are named Johnny. Have you ever noticed that? Okay, Johnny, here's 2 nickels. 1 nickel is for you, and the other nickel is for God. And the boy's all excited. He puts them in his pocket, and he's making his way to church. And on his way to church, one of the nickels falls out of his pocket because there was a hole in it, and it rolls in the street and down the sewer. And the little boy goes, oh, well, Lord, there goes your nickel. And that's where we are when we come to the topic of giving many times. We look at our checkbook or we look at our cash balance and we go, oh, well, Lord, your nickel already is gone. Proverbs 3, verse 9 and 10 is very helpful for us. It says, honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all of your produce. In other words, the first thing you do with any money you receive, the first thing you do is What am I going to give away? This will radically change your whole approach and how much you enjoy all this. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all that you produce. And then, because you think, well, there won't be any left for me, Jesus says, trust me. God says, trust me. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. You go, whoa, does the Bible really say that? Yeah, read Proverbs 3, 9, and 10. Here's the thing, if you are not intentional, and you do not have a proactive plan, the first thing to come out of your paycheck is not what you give away, then here's what happens. Then you will lose so much joy, because at the end of the day, what happens is you begin to wrestle with God over any extra money, or you go, this is my fun money. These are some things I wanted to do, some extra things I wanted to do. And all of a sudden, at the end of the month, at the end of the paycheck, it's you and God wrestling over the leftovers. That's why you don't enjoy this very much. That's why you feel like it's this legalistic burden. We also need to be more intentional. Whereas if it's the first thing coming out, the first fruits, yes! And you go, yes! And I've seized these opportunities. This is really a cool thing, and I so enjoy this. And then you go, okay, God, how are we gonna wrestle through, give us some wisdom on the rest of this. Listen, here's the other thing. You know why you need an intentional giving plan in your life? It's to combat the powerful lure of materialism and greed. I mean, come on, we're Americans. We live surrounded. We are treated as consumers everywhere we go. And to be intentional about your giving plan is a very important discipline so that your heart stays free from the love of money. I'm just telling you, if you go, man, and as a discipline of yours, I'm going to do this with my resources. It's going to be first. I'm going to get a plan, and I'm going to do this, and it frees you. You are free, and it's a great discipline on your heart to keep it from materialism and greed. So what's your giving plan? In the bulletin, there is an insert. I want you to notice the insert, because this is so helpful. We're trying to help you, okay? We're trying to help you. On the insert is all kinds of ways in which you can develop a plan and then funnel those resources. So it's the first fruits. You go, all right, I want to lock this in so I can be free to do this and really enjoy it. Well, here's how you can do it. Obviously, there's a Sunday morning offering. But here's what happens, right? You show up to church. Oh, the plate goes by. Oh, I forgot my wallet. Oh, I don't write checks anymore. Oh, I got those offering envelopes. And oh, I lost my offering envelope. And oh, I missed a couple Sundays. And oh, and you go, wow, I really want to do something, but I just have trouble. Okay, so there's lots of other things that we've got. We've got offering envelopes. There's boxes of them for every week. We'll give you those. You go, hey, this is really helpful for me to have a plan. All right, on the back of this thing, there's all kinds of other ways. Bill pay through your bank. In other words, you can authorize your bank to mail something to the church on a regular basis. Now, by the way, these ones in the back, more and more people of Grace are picking up on this. And it's so freeing for them, they like it. Oh, thank you for doing that. Because then they don't have to worry about, where's the offering envelope on Sunday morning? Or what do I do with my checkbook? Or shucks, I don't have any money. They're going, this is crazy. And they're intentional and have a plan. So you can set up with your bank. Here's the EFT, electronic funds transfer. More and more people of Grace are doing this. You authorize the church to debit your checking or savings account, saying, you know what, this is so much easier for me. And so they just set it up, and it automatically is given to the church on a regular basis. Or online giving. You can get online. You go, oh man, I always forget on Sunday morning. All right, get on the church website, online. You can give there. You can give on the Grace app. You can get the Grace app and put it on your phone and give it for you. Here's the point. We're trying to give you as many tools as we can so that you can be intentional. Why do we do this? Because this is going to be so helpful for you. What's your plan? I want to tell you that Holly and I love donating. We love donating. We really do. And I have a lot less guilt than I used to. I still struggle with some things, saying no. I say no to lots of things, and I don't feel guilty about it. And I enjoy donating more than ever. You say, well, Dan, what's the secret? I sat down and thought, I gotta be proactive about this whole thing. And so here's what we do. And this isn't to say this, I'm just giving you an example of how this has been so freeing for us, all right? I sit down at the beginning of the year, and I calculate 15% of my income. I lock in that amount of money, 15% of income. I'm going to give that much away. I want to give that much away. Then at least 10% of that comes out first and comes here to Grace. I believe in this ministry and all the things that are our ministry goals, and I want to be a part of this opportunity. Then the remaining money, I scope out different things and say, what are some other opportunities that we want to get involved in? And I've got resources here, here, here. And so I'm looking. Would you like to donate? Maybe. Tell me about it. I do like to donate, so maybe this is something I want to get involved in. And you check it out, and then you pick and choose. And I say no to some of these things, and I say yes to some of these things. And it's really a cool thing. It's really an enjoyable, exciting thing to be a part of. So, for example, when I'm watching the Schwann's video, and I'll tell you about these guys in a minute. When I'm watching the Schwann video this morning after 25 years of service, I am so moved and excited. You know why? Because I've been giving here for over 25 years. I've been giving here for as long as they've been on our missions budget. So a part of every dollar I've given to Grace has gone to the Schwanns. And I get to own that. I get to own that. I get to rejoice and celebrate that. Those people I've never met, God's given me the chance to have a piece of their lives. Seriously? Now, compare that to the golf club that I bought. What has given me more joy? Well, I'll just tell you, it's not the golf club, because I still get ticked off with some of the shots I hit with it. Right? You see, you understand this? You understand it? Okay. And I can say no to different things. I get asked a lot of things about education. Would you like to give to this university? Or would you like to give to that? Okay, so we give some to Grace College. It's an educational thing. And why? Well, I'm on the board of trustees there, so I'm committed to this. And that's over what I give here, right? And how about the poor? I watch things on TV about the poor in Africa, and I do not give to any of them on TV, and I don't feel guilty at all about it. You know why? Because Holly and I send this pastor to Bible school. We pay for him to go to Bible school. This is the Issa family. And in the beginning of the year, it's a joy for me to write the check that sends him. And look at these kids. Are you serious? Look at his children. He pastors a church in Africa, a Charis Fellowship Church in Africa. And I get to send him to Bible school. And believe me, it's a lot less than tuition was when my kids went to college. All right? So it's a cool thing. This is such a cool thing. Now listen, it's a proactive, I'm just trying to encourage you. If you get a proactive plan, it's a huge help. God has blessed all of us with such resources, and we are stewards of everything that He gives us. And we have such opportunity. God says, I'm just going to pour a bunch of stuff on you and give you lots of opportunities for joy and blessing. It really is more blessed to give than receive. How come we don't enjoy that? You think about it and see if one of the biggest reasons is you're more passive and protective, and so you're always fighting with God and others about this. Third thing is capability. How much should you give? Well, Paul talks about it here. Look at verse 2. How much should you give? On the first day of each week, each of you is to put aside 10% of your income. That's not what it says. If you follow me along in the scripture, you go, that's not what Paul said. Do you know that Paul never, anywhere, in all he wrote about giving says, you're supposed to put aside 10% of your income? Paul never said that. What does he say? He says, these are instructions that I give to everybody. On the first day of the week, each of you put something aside. Well, how much? Each one should put something aside. So like this is for everybody. Giving's for everybody. Each one should, how much you give? Something. Well, can you give me a little more guidelines on something? Put something aside. Yeah, as he may prosper. Well, how much has God given you? That's the deal. See, you give. How much? Well, as God's prospered you. It's in keeping with his income as you've been blessed. Here's the point. Different people have different capacities when it comes to the question, how much? And believe me, as Americans, we have amazing capacity. Everyone's to do something. Each one gives something. Well, how much? How much has God blessed you? What kind of capabilities do you have? What kind of opportunities could you be involved in? It's a whole different way of looking at it. Versus, okay, wait a second. Once you say it, I'm going to get my calculator out. Stop. What are you doing? Give cheerfully. This is the heart of it. I love these verses. In here's the heart of it. Here's the heart that God's after and I'm after for you. You know, I told you that this message, I want to help you find joy with your money. The point is this, Paul says, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. Oh, I don't want to give much away, I'm protected. Well, then you're not going to get a whole lot of blessing, you know. Throw a couple seeds out, and whoever sows sparingly will reap sparingly. Whoever sows bountifully will reap bountifully. You know, you throw a lot of money out there, you know, lots of blessings. Each one must give as he's decided in his heart. See, again, he's writing intentionality. What is your plan? Not reluctantly or under compulsion. Somebody just hit me up and I don't have any money. God loves a cheerful giver. God loves it when you're going, this is great. You say, well, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to starve? Are you serious? Now, really, think about this. Do you think you'll stand before God in heaven someday and God will say, hey, how'd you die? I starved to death. Well, how'd you starve to death? I gave all my money away and you didn't take care of me. Are you serious? But this is what we think. I can't give it away. I won't have enough. Really? God is able to make all grace abound to you so that having all sufficiency in all things at all times, you may abound in every good work. Have some fun with your money. Trust God and loosen up. Have some fun with this. Are you serious? Listen, God doesn't measure a number. He measures our hearts. Jesus says, freely you have received, freely give. Jesus says it's more blessed to give than receive. And you go, I can see that now. Stephen I love this. Look at what he says. This is a guy in Boston. There is more wealth to go around now than ever before. It's just not going around. Fourth, the last word is accountability. Accountability. How is your gift handled? This is an important question. When you're making donations, you want to know how is your donation going to be handled. Here's it, verse 3 and 4. When I arrive, Paul says, I will send those whom you accredit by letter to carry your gift to Jerusalem. Paul's saying if it needs to, I'll go with him. What's Paul interested in here? He's interested in fiscal integrity. Fiscal integrity. Paul says, listen, you churches, if you're going to take a collection, you better handle that money carefully and with integrity. If you're going to take a collection to feed the poor in Jerusalem, you better assign some people that you trust and are accredited to make sure that that money gets from Corinth into the hands of poor people in Jerusalem. That's what Paul's saying. That's good advice, isn't it? This is an amazing 4 verses in the Bible. You know what? Sometimes people just give money to all kinds of things, and just go, man, ask some questions. Are you sure your money's actually going to where it is? You give to those, you see something on TV and you write a check to them. What percentage of your money is actually going into the mouths of that poor kid in Africa? And what percentage of it is renting out that office space in that high rise in that organization? Ask some questions. That's why I love what we do here. We got this hand-in-hand things where there's some schools in Africa. They're a part of Grace churches in Africa. And so we give the money, and it goes straight into those kids' lives. Those poor kids, they get an education, they get lunch, they get whatever. And you go, well, how much of it? I mean, it's like a massive amount of that, percentage of that actually gets in there. Now, we use people to transport it over there, process the money, make sure that it gets exchanged. Okay, you got to do that. But how much of this is overhead? Anyway, I digress. I want you to know at Grace, at our church, the money is carefully handled by accredited people. Paul says, get accredited by letter. Money here is handled by accredited people. Here's who counts it in our office. Ann Goodman is amazing. She's the one that processes every dollar that comes through and accounts it and channels it, and she does it with amazing integrity, amazing joy. But listen, we've got all kinds of people around here that handle the money. The ushers put it through a slot in the safe. A group of people count it, and the group that counts it have all been approved by the elder board. And then there's a business commission that oversees all the finances, and the elders and the committee on staff that knows where every single dollar goes and how every single dollar is spent. So, a good question for you to ask, and it's good to ask to anybody that you donate to is the money going where they said it would go? That's a good question to ask, man. Paul says there should be accountability in these kinds of things. If I'm given to such and such, is the money really going there? And there's been enough scandals out there that you go, wow, this really is an important question. All right, I conclude with this. 4 words. Opportunity, intentionality, capability, and accountability. On the first day of the week, take a collection, Paul says. And so we do. We do. We take an offering every Sunday. All right? You have every right to say, what is this going towards? What is this giving to? What is this opportunity, and what are the needs? It goes locally and around the world. Check it out. I want you to know where all this is going. Question for you then is, do you have a plan? Do you have an intentional, regular giving plan? If you don't, then when I get up here or somebody occasionally gets up here and talks about money, you're already going to be pushing back. It's probably because you have a passive, protective approach to your money, okay? You think about that. Do you have a plan, a regular giving plan? It's interesting, at the end of last year, we did this plus 20, where we challenged people, hey, why don't you take whatever you've been doing, do an additional $20 a week for the last 10 weeks of the year. Now, it doesn't seem like much. It made a huge impact. And it was an intentional plan for 10 weeks. I ran some numbers. What if 200 people here at Grace went, okay, I'm going to do $20 more a week from now until the end of the year? That's 39 weeks. Then that would be over $150,000. Now, giving, you know what? Giving is up this year. Just so you know, where's all this tracking? Giving is up over last year. Many of you are intentional and carry this place. It's amazing. You know the joy of everything I am talking about. There are new people getting on board. I'm told, I don't know their names or whatever, but I'm told, hey, there's new people showing up. There's new people giving. This is exciting. Because our budget is going up this year. Why? There's new opportunities that we see, and we have capabilities here at Grace. So we're excited to jump into these things. All right, that's why this is one of our values. Value number 6 is we live with irrational generosity. The world thinks we're crazy. Do you know what the average percentage is that people give in America? 2.6%. All right? You say, Dan, the kind of giving you're talking about is crazy. That's right. It's irrational generosity because, you know what? Do you think Americans enjoy their money? Oh, my goodness. We live with irrational generosity because we truly believe. We really believe this. You guys are crazy. I know it's irrational. We really believe it's more blessed to give than to receive. So when I think about this year's ministry goals, the good news is we've got all the money. We got all the $2,400,000. We got it all. Okay? The bad news is it's still in your pocket. So, would you like to donate? Let's pray. Lord, this is an amazing thing. How did we mess this up so bad? How we messed this up? You shower us. We're Americans living in 2019 in incredible prosperity. How is it that we got this? There's so much potential for joy and kingdom advancement. Help us with these things. And I would just challenge you this morning. Do you have intentionality? Do you have a plan? I would challenge you to sit down and say, all right, what am I going to purpose in my heart to give away, and come up with an intentional plan and be proactive about this thing and see how you don't enjoy it more and see more advance in the kingdom. Father, use us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Good to see you.